From the most distant corners of Africa and Asia, Olivia Mokijewski has traveled the globe exposing the dangers to our planet's wild animals and nature. She's a reporter, a member of the Nature Environmental Journalists Association and of the WWF. Like Leonardo DiCaprio and Yann Arthus Bertrand, she was named ambassador of the International Fund for Animal Welfare. We'll accompany Olivia in her adventures as she meets exceptional women and men who devote their lives to rescuing young orphan animals. People working to promote awareness and help make a better world.
In Namibia, we join Olivia and meet probably the most lovable of all the big cats, the cheetah. He's powerful, but also vulnerable. Cheetahs are disappearing. A century ago, there were cheetahs all over Africa and Asia, 100,000 of them. Today, there are only 10,000. Their main refuge is in Namibia. But here, cheetahs hunted by farmers also have to fight for their survival. Olivia meets people who have devoted their lives to save these big cats. What if humans and cheetahs could learn to live together?
Just pretend to be dangerous. It works. It's amazing because I'm alone on the road. There is nobody. Namibia is bigger than France and England together for only 2 million people.
Namibia's wide and huge natural environment makes a strong impression when we arrive here. But in fact, all this land belongs to farmers. It means that here, humans and animals are in competition for the same territory. The situation has turned into a conflict where cheetahs are the main victims. Cheetahs are trapped in a place where there's no more room for them. They are the most endangered feline in Africa. A cheetah needs a lot of space to hunt and survive, about 3,000 square kilometers, 3 times the size of a city like Los Angeles. But today, big empty terrains like this are hard to find. Besides, what's the point in marking your territory when you don't have one?
And that's the handles.
Everything is ready now. This morning we are going to make a rescue. Marlies van Vuren is a conservationist who has been fighting to protect wildlife in Namibia since the last 15 years. Today we have a meeting with a farmer. He has trapped 2 cheetahs and he will kill them if nobody will come and get them. So let's go.
Most of the land in Namibia belongs to the whites, to Afrikaners, who are descendants of European colonists. They raise cattle and game. For them, the cheetah is a pest they want to get rid of.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be one boy, one girl. I'm not so sure.
Game pen?
It's fully fenced in here.
Oh, so they were catching your game.
Yeah. I must have lost about 120, 130 springbok already, 120 impalas, 9 of my ostriches.
The young ones.
No, big ones, which I raised up. That's my family. But that was not these two. It was another tomcat, a big one, which I caught as well. And he is at the moment at the taxidermist. So when he put it in the boma, and every morning he said, "You don't," and I can clap him.
Even if a cheetah is a species in danger, we have a right to kill them here.
Yeah, it's legal to do it in Namibia. You as a farmer, the minute that cat is on your farm and you have a problem with it, you're allowed to shoot it.
Drop as a woman.
We are putting a blanket up to the cage to make the animals less stressed, because they're not going to see anything, so they will feel better.
These 2 cheetahs are lucky. Not every farmer calls Marlies. Some don't hesitate to poison or just shoot them. They don't know that cheetahs rarely attack livestock. Cheetahs are easy to blame and easy to catch, so they pay the price for the others, like the hyena or the leopard.
What about their health?
They look beautiful, they're healthy. You can see when his mouth is open like that, teeth look good. Yeah, and they're beautiful cats. They are 2 brothers, and then the dominant one will always lay in the front where the most people is walking. And you never find 2 males that single males will bond up. It's always brothers, 3 or even 4, that stays together.
Two brothers, one destiny. We can't separate them. They've always lived together. In the wild, after he's independent, a young male lives with his brothers. They form a coalition to protect their territory from other cheetahs, but mostly to hunt. In a group, it's easier. There's always one who is more clever than the others, and braver. The cheetah's not a killing machine like the leopard or the lion. They're shy and fearful. Some are even intimidated by their prey. It's a good thing these cats are good at sharing. Leaving the farm with our 2 refugees, there are mixed emotions. Sure, we saved them, but now there are 2 less cheetahs in the wild. What will happen to them? Right now, the most important thing is getting them to safety, far away from farmers. After a 3-hour drive, we arrive in Nankuse, the refuge created by Marlies van Veren. The two brothers will have to get used to captivity, but at least they're still alive.
These two cheetahs are going to stay in quarantine during 1 month. Because they are young and healthy, they're going to be back to the wild soon. We hope, in fact.
But first, we have to find a place that will take them in. For now, no one wants them. Marlies and her husband Rudy created this center 3 years ago. They never imagined what a big job it would be. At their house, the day starts in an ordinary way. Well, almost.
Ooh la la.
They're seeing the other cheetahs.
Yeah.
Aiku, kom.
And they don't destroy anything.
When they're babies, they are destroying.
Ja, ik denk hulle wil dit hê. Kyk is bors. You're gonna have it's Kiki. Ai, hierso. There it is.
For you, it's like dogs, right?
Yeah. Just naughty dogs. It's hot. Break the plates.
Ouh là là. Ouh là là. Ah bah ouais, ça fait des dégâts, mais forcément. When we see cheetah here in your kitchen, it could be like a nice, sweet, and but it's kind of dramatic situation, right?
Yeah, it is, because you've got this, basically end up in a catch-22, because we get them in as orphans because their mums get shot, and this happens. We have to create a situation that is not normal and make the best out of it. And this is why they end up in our house. But the cats grow up, and for us, the most wonderful thing is to see these cats go back into the wild.
I think Marlies has got a very strong connection with them because she raised them. And I think it's also because they remember this house and they grew up in this house. And to teach Zagiel that they are still dangerous animals, but they are friends. Since we have been married, there's not been one night that I have slept through.
Yeah.
If it's not animals, it's Zagiel. It's always something that wakes us up in the night.
Et depuis combien de temps t'es mariée?
10 years. 10 years. 10 years. You see how tired I look. I've not been sleeping.
Marlies has taken in about 15 cheetahs at Nankuse. Many of them are orphans, and she had to be a substitute mother to the littlest ones. They were captured by a farmer when they were a few weeks old. Their mother escaped, but she had to leave her young behind. Marlies watches over them day and night so they have a chance to survive. They're more used to humans than to the wild now. Releasing them will be difficult.
What's this?
They're not fierce at all. They're just big purring cats.
They're really noisy. Cheetah is a big cat, but his behavior is very close to the dog's behavior.
We often confuse cheetahs with other felines like the leopard or the jaguar. We can recognize a cheetah by his fur, black spots on a fawn coat. Then there's the tear duct around his eyes.
The claws are also very different from the other big cats because they are semi-retractable. This helps them to grip the ground very easily and help them also to run very fast and be a good hunter. It's a strange feeling It's hard to imagine having a cheetah on your lap like this, just like any other pet. He lets you caress him, and he likes it too. They look like precious animals. What do you like?
They trust, because they fully trust you if you have them like these, and if you raise them as babies, and the love that they give back. And then they all have the different personalities. For me, it's not I love cheetahs or I love lions or I love leopards. For me, in general, it's just specific identities and specific personalities that I have a connection with.
Faire de leur poil.
All full of hair.
It's a big handicap for a cheetah to grow up without its mother. It's by imitating her that he learns to be a predator, to hunt, and to identify his prey. He also learns to recognize his enemies. His mother always watches over him because about 2/3 of baby cheetahs never grow to become adults. This is another thing that weakens this species. In total, young cheetahs spend 18 months at their mother's side. This time is precious and vital to surviving in the African savanna. In Namibia, conflict with humans creates other victims too. There are many wild orphans at Nankuse, and Marlies speaks a very funny language with them.
What is it?
This is a baby patty fox, not a baby, he's a youngster. Come.
And where did you find him?
Our veterinarian, he phoned us and they got him in. He was hit by a car. So he's got a problem with his nerves now on his back. Oh.
It looks like Noah's Ark. In fact, it is Marley's Ark. This place doesn't welcome only cheetahs. It also welcomed all wild animals who were victims of conflict of territory. Most of them were injured. They were hunted by humans. They have no place to go now. So in a way, they are refugees.
Here, nothing surprises me. I see a baby leopard with a dog. Liacons, wild dogs, and caracals running together. It happens all the time. In all, 50 animals of 20 different species have found refuge here. They all live together, waiting to be free again one day.
This afternoon, it's playtime for the baboons. Twice a week, they leave their pen for a little walk. This is the moment I've been dreading the most.
Baboons have a bad reputation. Namibians hate them and kill them without a second thought. But Marlies absolutely adores them, so she takes them in. It's a full-time job. She needs the help of 10 volunteers to help out for this walk. They really are little hooligans.
Okay, I guess I don't have a choice. When they jump, they really jump. He's made his choice, and now... Hey, stop! I can't see anything. They act as mafia, as a gang. You know, if one of them doesn't like you, everybody hates you. They're trying to test your reaction. Look what they did to me.
Hello?
No hard feelings. It's time to give the little ones a bath now. Even at this age, you can see they'll be a real handful later.
Every day at the end of afternoon, it's bath time for these little baboons. They are orphans, so we clean them because we are going to sleep with volunteers every night because we need a mom.
Nia. Nia.
We just dry them out a little bit.
Like clothes?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Cut your door. Cut your boot. Another one.
He's shaking. He's very cold.
Like crazy. He's very cool.
Not all animals at Nankuse need so much attention. Some just want to be left alone.
Now we are going to feed the wildest cheetah of the center. They are all orphans and they have been trapped by farmers. So let's see what happens.
There he comes.
What you're hearing is their cry, like a puppy barking mixed with a bird chirping. Not very masculine. There goes the big cat's reputation.
The only thing here is you feed the problem maker first, which is Vasco. The others are all scared of him. And then also, don't turn your back. When you keep eye contact, you are challenging them, and they're cowards. So they will stand back. This is Vasco. So he's the big
You have
boy.
to say hello to them?
Yeah, no, it's just, they normally look at your hand and it's food.
Oh,
So
like
this is-
nothing.
There's nothing in it. Just want to show you what they do.
Yeah.
If you approach them, they run away. If you turn your back, if you do this, they will come to you. So you pretend you run, and then they come.
Right.
You want to try it?
Yeah?
You just pretend you're going to run.
But just pretend to be dangerous, but they are not. It works. It's quite impressive when you're in front of them. It's really important for this cheetah to stay wild because they are here in transit and they're going to be soon released. So contact with humans are not good for them. So we're going to feed them and then leave them alone. That's the technique when we don't have any water and soap. That's how we put the blood off.
Get it all dry. And then there's a bush here.
Marley's found a place to release a few cheetahs. This time, it's far away. 700 kilometers from Nankuse. Her husband, Rudy, flies us in. We're going south to the biggest private reserve in Namibia.
We are at the gate of Namib Desert, which is the oldest desert in the world. Here, 20 years ago, there were farmers all over the place. Most of the cheetahs who were living here have been killed by the farmers, but one day they decided to give up herding to develop ecotourism. Now this place is a perfect place to introduce cheetahs.
Here are the 3 cheetahs that Marlies will release. After 2 years at Nankuse, they were transferred here 1 month ago, so they had time to adapt to their new environment. Quite different from their natural habitat. They're very wild and terrified of humans, so we need to attract them with food to put them to sleep. This is the only way we can get near them.
Okay, perfect. Okay, this is the last one, this one. They look very good. Run down. 2 down.
I don't speak very loud because we just start them. We need to put them a collar. It's really necessary before we release them.
70. Okay. Okay, 70 almost.
We have to hurry up because the anesthesia is not going to last more than 1 hour.
Pick up, pick up.
Yeah, it's
Because you take the front legs.
It's the last male's turn. He's the biggest.
That's all right. You'll be all right.
The team takes the time they need to make sure he's healthy.
38.8.
So much work and energy to give this animal back something as natural as freedom.
Thanks to these collars, scientists will be able to follow the cheetahs after the release during 2 years. It's really important because it helps them to know all the movements of the cheetahs. But the problem is that these collars are really expensive. For example, this one cost $3,500, and that's why all the cheetahs are not always released.
Waking up is hard. The anesthesia gives them hallucinations.
Get away. I don't want him to wake up like that.
It takes a while for the cheetahs to feel normal again.
Now I'm going to a place where I really don't want to go.
People call these trophies, but where's the victory in it? We're at the taxidermist shop, the craftsman who makes dead animals look alive. This is Deyat Lemetzger. He organizes hunts in Namibia for American, Russian, and European tourists. In this country, $9,000 gives people the right to kill a cheetah. just for fun. There's a quota of 150 animals a year. Deetlam tries to convince me that hunting doesn't hurt the species. He says that it protects them.
Do you agree that it could be a little bit difficult to understand that to protect cheetahs, you have to kill them?
Yes, you're right in the sense, but the wildlife producer and the livestock producer will kill the cheetah anyway. Now that hunting has put a value on the animal, he will consider killing it. He will rather keep the cheetah for somebody else later, the hunter, to come in and shoot that cheetah on a trophy hunt and then earn some money on it.
You told me that hunting is the only way to protect cheetahs today. But what about ecotourism?
Ecotourism also puts a value on a cheetah, but it's difficult to quantify. But I'm saying that hunting is just as important because the animals have a value. There's a reason for somebody to keep a cheetah on his property.
I have to confess to you something, Dilfen. I don't really like hunting, but I would like to understand, why do you like it?
Okay, I'll tell you by an anomaly. You're a young man, and you go to a disco, and you see this girl dancing on the floor, and she interests you. Now, you'll go and you speak to her, and it never always happens like that, but somehow you find a good relationship, and tonight you're going home together.
What's going to be the future for cheetahs? To answer to that question, I'm going to meet now Loie Marker. Her nickname is Lady Cheetah. Without her, cheetahs maybe would have disappeared. She was the first one to fight for them 30 years ago. Today, cheetahs are still threatening. And after all these years, after all this energy involved, do you have a feeling to progress?
I know that we've stopped a lot of the killing here in Namibia. We have stabilized the population. We've made people think about how the cheetah's really living and whether they're really an animal that they should be killing, or possibly an animal that could bring them more economic benefit if they kept them alive through ecotourism. But people still are not aware that this beautiful and fastest land animal is so close to the brink of extinction.
About 50 cheetahs live in Loie Marker's center. She has a trick to help them deal with captivity.
Here, twice a week, cheetahs are trained for running. It's really important for them because the world's fastest land animals need to practice as athletes.
Cheetahs are the Formula One of nature, built for speed. Their hind legs are very muscular. Their flexible spine follows every movement. Their lungs are very developed, and their tail acts as a pendulum. But these great sprinters get tired very fast.
Give them another quick break.
When a cheetah hunts in nature, it can only run for a short time, 20 to 30 seconds. They must be efficient. Once he spots his prey, he takes off and accelerates. He can run up to 70 miles an hour. These sprints are the most spectacular on Earth. Lori Marker may have found a way to save the cheetahs. Her solution has 4 legs. These dogs come from the plains of Anatolia in Turkey. For centuries, Turkish farmers have used them to guard their herds.
These puppies are 2 days old, and in 2 months they will be placed in farms all around Namibia. Today, this little thing represents the best hope for cheetahs.
Laurie has already given 300 dogs to Namibian farmers. These huge dogs are very strong and can take on the biggest predators.
If a cheetah comes here, what's going to be the reaction of the dogs?
The dogs are going to sit and bark, but it's more like a warning. I then go to see why they are barking. Sometimes it could be a warthog or some other harmless animals. But if it's a cheetah, they will not feel the need to attack. Just the presence of the dogs is enough.
At the same time, there's nothing really new about this idea. Other herders around the world have exactly the same thing. German shepherds have always protected the herd from wolves or bears. But this technique has been tested, and it really works here.
What's the challenge today? Trying to save cheetahs from extinction.
The challenge is really our education. Education here in Africa, globally, for people to understand that we can't do it alone. A handful of conservationists who love the cheetah cannot save it for the species, for extinction. We need people from outside, from your country, from the Western world, to actually get involved and help us in saving the species. It's going to take money, resources, and actually helping the people on whose land the cheetah is living.
We have to act fast. It's getting harder for cheetahs to reproduce and for the species to continue. Most cheetahs are related by blood. 10,000 years ago, a drastic climate change almost wiped out the species. The cheetahs of today are the descendants of the small group that survived. Most cheetahs are part of the same family. They are brothers, sisters, uncle, or cousin. Fewer cheetahs means there's more inbreeding. There's only one way for a male to find a female who isn't a close relative these days, and that's to look far from home. This is why he needs a big territory. Every bit of land that's preserved, every cheetah that's saved brings hope. Back to Nankuse. After a few weeks in Marlise's care, how are the 2 brothers doing?
We are the 2 cheetahs that we rescued from the farmer. They are still stressed.
Yeah, they look good. They're healthy, they're young, they don't look so bad. The only thing is now is stress, and that's why we give them water, give them food, and you get out of here.
Now maybe we can give them a name.
Yeah, for sure there's one name we have to give. It's Claudio, because one of the sponsors for Color was Claudio.
Okay, so we have to find another Italian name, like, I don't know, like Roberto, Nani, Aldo, Roberto. Aldo? Okay, yeah. Aldo.
Aldo, okay. So it will be Claudio and Aldo. Okay, that's brilliant.
No time to rest. With Marlies, there's always something to do.
Now we're going to the enclosure where the lions are, and with volunteers we are going to clean the cages while the lions are going to be in the cages, so it's a little bit scary.
It's with me.
Okay, kan niet verder as dit, ons moet hier. Okay, we go. Do you see them?
Before going in, we are waiting with Woody for the green light from Marlies.
Marlies, do you see them?
On the other side of the enclosure, Marlies and her team use food to create a diversion.
Hey! 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 He's up! Hey! Hold on. Let me just take the smile over here.
Now we don't have to talk, we don't have to make too much noise. And while we are going to do that, Marlies is going to create a diversion.
Every day, the lion and the 2 lionesses eat 4 kilos of horse meat each. That's 84 kilos a week. The scraps must be removed to prevent illness and parasites. The job is easy, but dangerous. These lions are still wild and can't be controlled. A lioness has quickly spotted the team.
Get back in the cars! Get in the car! Get in the car!
Okay, so you guys all done and out?
Watch out.
Okay, thank you. All done.
Everyone relaxes when they're out of the pen.
But when you shouted, get back in the car, I got back first in the car, and I shouted, get back in the car!
They were scared, but it was an incredible experience. Today, the Nankuse Reserve has 300 hectares. Marlies is going to buy land from neighboring farmers. That will make an extra 4,500 hectares. It will give her protégés a nice bit of space to roam.
You decided to create this place to release also some of the cheetahs. I know that you want to release Claudio and Aldo here very soon.
Well, for sure there's enough game here. We've got springbok, we've got eland, oryx, hartebeest, and then a lot more smaller game. So, and they're not going to be in problem or in conflict with farmers because the reserve is going to be fenced in. And yeah, so they're going to be problem-free, hopefully. And now it also just depends on them. They just have to hunt the proper ones and then they're fine. There's Aiku, Aisha and Kiki. You can see they drink bottle, and that's Aiku. He was a beautiful little boy. Here's on our wedding, and that cheetah is now, he's now 27 years old, this boy, Gutters. And he carried in the rings around his neck to the ceremony.
When we look at you when you are with these animals, it's obvious you have a special thing with them. How do you explain that?
When I was little, my parents were on a farm in the east of Namibia, and they had an orphanage for wild animals. And yeah, I just grew up with animals around and yeah, fallen in love with it and helped from a very young age with sleeping with baboons and stuff like that. That's a baby lion. This is Macho. This is the same lion. that I went to the sea with, this one. This boy. It's the same boy.
This one.
He was still a baby. When we went to the coast, and there's me and Betty and her father Connor. And here he's also here, big boy. He was my favorite. There's one more of him.
Why it's so important for you to save cheetahs?
Well, for me, it's if tomorrow there's no cheetahs left, and I know that I lived in an era that I could have made a difference, I would have felt guilty. So it's my obligation and I have to make a difference. And if everybody in the world just say, well, the world will keep on if there's no cheetahs, it's just, okay, then everything will keep on going without any animal. For sure, it will keep on. But what do you do what do you contribute to society and to the world if you just sit back and watch stuff just disappear and animals just disappear?
Marlies has chosen a different kind of life, a life full of adventures and challenges that she likes to share with others. You might not imagine it, but some mornings can be harder than others, especially in the Namibian desert, where nights can be very cold. The 3 collared cheetahs will finally be released today. The biologist Florian Weiss is leading the operation.
So the reserve's boundary is approximately here, with the cheetahs being in the enclosure right here at the moment. We're hoping that the cheetahs will also go out that way and stay within the reserve, away from that farmland on that side.
Whatever the place you choose for the release, you will have always farms around you in Namibia, right?
That's correct. You can't really escape that there's farmland in this country. But the place was chosen because there's lots of game for the cheetahs there. And the cheetahs that have already been released have settled in areas around this particular area, so we're trying to fill a gap there so they can overlap in their home ranges and start breeding.
Life in captivity has advantages. The 3 cheetahs will now have to face freedom and the risks that go with it. The door to the unknown is right in front of them. They don't seem in a big hurry to walk through it.
We come here very far from them because they need to be confident to go out from the enclosure. It's amazing because we are at 1 kilometer from them and they're able to see us and to smell us. So we need to wait a little bit more. It's difficult for you to let them go because you know that you are taking a risk.
If you don't take the risk, these cats are going to stay in captivity and there's no reason for it. So it's not a risk. I know these cats know. They've tasted freedom for 6 months of their life and they know what freedom is about.
This last meal will hold them for a week. After that, they will have to take care of themselves, find their place in our world. I think sometimes we don't realize how lonely we will feel without them. But it's not too late. We can do something by supporting people who fight here to protect them. Because the question is not to know if cheetahs have a future, but are we ready to let them one?